like these dog parks too, right here. Dog parks are cool. And then they got that gazebo. I mean, it's nice to have it. If you can, they're from Virginia too. People are getting kind of scattered because they're getting scattered mostly because of COVID. I'm not surprised about this rise in COVID, and I'm real disappointed in what's going on, how they're treating it. I'm pretty disappointed because there's the mask mandate has pretty much been lifted. Now they're going to reinstate it in California and most hopefully in New York. Even if they don't see a sign, they should do it anyway. They should do it anyway for prep, just to prepare, and not only that, to prevent, and to get everybody in that mindset. I'm going to do it until there's 0 cases, meaning I'm going to wear the mask until 0 cases, until I'm absolutely sure, and do my research, look through all the papers, all the states, everything, to find out there's not a single case, and then I'll stop wearing it. I have mine, this is what I've used through the height of the pandemic. It was this thing right here. And these glasses, of course, helped, because I have glasses too. And I was very weary on rubbing my eyes. Always carried one of these around. I still do even today. One of these right here. Just hand sanitizer. I use pretty much, I don't know, really any type of it. I trust pretty much any type of them. I'm not real picky. I have thought that there was some weird stuff going on with certain hand sanitizers, but you can kind of smell it to see if there's something there. And another thing too, you can always just use water. I like the fact the light kills it too, sunlight. COVID it's a serious thing. From what I'm noticing, there's 89,000 deaths or something within 1 year, and people are just kind of flubbing their nose at it. And now they're going on the Trump campaign for, I think this lasts for the 2nd year in the middle of it. I don't know. I haven't heard Biden make any type of statement concerning COVID in a while, when that's what everybody was talking about. Now, it is nice to have a break, but ultimately we should still be on prevention. And that goes for all companies. So today's number actually is 8. But when I first saw it come into the screen, it looked like a 3. Those are kind of scary, because we're guessing the same number, Linda and I. All right, thanks. What I like about Glorious Glow Hands is they're actually not law enforcement. They're not law enforcement. They're just geniuses. Scooby-Doo, but that's cartoon. I don't want to say Scooby-Doo. There's live action, but it's not a movie. It's a series. But there is an aspect to it. Oh yeah, also I said Monk, I said Psych, I said True Detective, anyway, in the order I said Twin Peaks, True Detective, Monk, and Psych. There's another thing too. I like Columbo, the classic character. Peter Falk was great. But then there was another one, Murder, She Wrote. The reason why Murder, She Wrote is because she was actually a writer. So she could sit down and write these things, but then she solved them too. So it was kind of cool. I wonder if Patterson's helped. I've seen Patterson interviewed. They said they've all put in their 2 cents in real law enforcement. But you got to remember, Murder, She Wrote. I have to go back and find out who was the real detective. Monk wasn't. He only worked with them. Psych wasn't. He worked with them in Psych. They weren't law enforcement, but they were helping. Twin Peaks obviously was. I love the fact that Lynch made these FBI agents working in the supernatural, finding these demons and stuff, and they were a department in the FBI. Of course, X-Files too, but they were another version of the FBI kind of thing. But these are just regular geniuses, that can do this stuff. One more thing. About Catch's character. Remember, they also go by code. So Colt may or may not be his real name. Catch is not a real name, it's a code name. But she has a alcohol problem. So that's kind of in some of them. I can't think of a True Detective think he did in True Detective. I know in one scene I saw with Matthew McConaughey, he's kind of ripping up these Lone Star cans and making little toys out of them, little toy soldiers or whatever he's making out of them, like these little men. So far from all the crime scenes that I've seen, shows, all the crime shows that I've seen on TV or cable, True Detective is probably one of the top 3. That looks exactly like Linda's old car. It's not though, it's gray though. So it's crazy, it's a Mazda 3. I would just, they're from Kansas. Right there. What I like about Glorious Glowhands and why I'm saying Columbo is because in Columbo was always trying to solve the perfect murder. In every single case, someone almost got away with perfect murder, right? It could not be traced. It was the perfect murder. That was Columbo. Listen, the perfect murder is when it's out of your hands. And it's never out of your Glorious Glowhands, baby. Now, to continue on with Glorious Glowhands and why Colt feels the way that he feels, the character, he does talk about George Floyd. George Floyd was the perfect murder. It was out of the police officer's hands. It was actually his knee that did it. But it was out of his hands because he was only trying to do his job. The number one thing they say, we're just trying to do our job. Look up the word job in the Bible. J-O-B. Look up that word and study it in the Bible. There's a book about it. It's called the Book of Job. He wasn't trying to do his job. You know what he was trying to do? The perfect murder. And we go. Holiday Lane. Holiday Lane. And here we have not only the perfect murder when George Floyd died, but also the perfect execution, the perfect public execution, which ended in, right? And here's the thing, Schindler's List, there were many public executions of the Holocaust people that did not survive. And Ray Fiennes played a character, a Gestapo, which was like a chief of police kind of person, over a lot of the other police officers, because that's what the Gestapo was. They were police officers that are acting, just following the law. When they were killing the Jews, they were just following the law. And how did his life end? Public execution. As he said, H-E-I-L-H-I-T-L-E-R, right there as loud as he could. Sworn to his leader, to the moment of his public execution. Goes to show what comes around goes around. What happened to George Floyd was very evil. Now, during the Holocaust, the German law was evil. It was the law of their evil land. It was an evil law of their evil land. And the evil soldiers, which were the police, had to follow that evil law to get their way. Listen, Ways, we're going to talk in a minute. They had to follow that evil law to get paid, because that's what their Führer provided for them, was payment. So you check your land of the law before, listen, all these public executions of evil law enforcement, get it on tape. And if any of them ask you to erase it, run away. Hopefully another person will get on tape. You can send up a YouTube post, or you can send up a Facebook post in a matter of seconds. All you gotta do is hit it on the phone, post it. It'll go right to Facebook immediately. I'd live stream it. You can also hit live stream on a lot of them immediately. Live stream it. Something they didn't have in 1945 Germany, in the Holocaust. They did not have live stream. They did have the photograph. They did have photos, but they didn't have live stream, which has sound. So there is evil law. The Bible says to follow the law of the land, but it doesn't say follow the evil law of the land, does it? You would like to believe that there is a perfect crime or there's a perfect murder. You'd like to believe that. And that's what they think. That's why it was that way on every single Columbo episode and many other detective stories. That's what they wanted to do. I mean, look at the Joker and look at the Riddler. That was what they wanted. The perfect murder, per se. There is one perfect murder, though. The crucifixion. That's a perfect murder. Right there in daylight. That's interesting that the Bible leads to a murder. The murder of our King, Jesus Christ. Isn't that interesting? It's all about a murder. The perfect murder. For the perfect reasons. See, the perfect murder leads to a person that takes on sin completely, becomes all of mankind's sin to die for your sins. So that you can be not only born again, but so that you can have paradise. Remember, we're only here in a blink of the eye. Only a blink of the eye. That's it. And then we're wherever we were. Now remember, it's all about preparation. You have to know Jesus now, because you don't want to hear the words, I don't know you. Because he will either say that he knows you or that he doesn't know you. And if you know him, then he knows you. And you'll know him when you meet him. His name is Jesus Christ. He's as real as anything else that you're seeing. There's the crane. Oh, there's some of them right there. And over here too. Oh, whoa. We got a lot of them. Quack, quack, geese. Those are mostly ducks right there. We got a whole traveling thing of goose or geese coming up right here. They're traveling away from the pond. They won't go far though. 7 of them. You know, it's amazing that almost every Kurt Cobain song has a Christian message, and not a single church across America would ever play any of his songs in any of their churches, because he belonged to a band with the name of Nirvana. It's kind of a joke name, probably. But he wrote a journal every day, and every day when he wrote the journal, he would put up at the top, to his friend Jesus. He wrote a journal to Jesus. It's been published that he was a professed Christian. Billy Corgan dedicated Zygist to Jesus Christ. It's on the back of the CD of Zygist. If you look at Billy Corgan's music, he's a devout believer in Jesus Christ. Nor will they ever play any of his music in any church ever. Got 2 profound Christians that are more popular than almost any other person, you know, around, and the church just completely ignores them. I think they're good musicians too. If you ask Billy Corgan, do you believe in Jesus Christ? His answer is yes. If you asked Kurt Cobain, do you believe in Jesus Christ? He'd say, of course I do. I don't think what Kurt did was right. And I think he had mental problems, just like Daniel Johnston was. Daniel Johnston went to church. He was seen publicly in church all the time singing hymns. He knew all the hymns that they're almost by heart. Daniel Johnston, Kurt Cobain promoted Daniel Johnston. It was an evangelical move for him. But Kurt probably had some major mental demons to deal with, and wasn't the ideal person. He wasn't the ideal Christian. But you know who who wasn't the ideal Christian? All 12 disciples. They weren't ideal. A lot of them were bankers. A lot of them were tax collectors. They were pretty bad people. But they dropped everything to follow this guy all the way to pretty much as far as they could, until a few of them had to deny him for their own sake. See what I'm saying? We don't really know 100%, but I do know that I saw with my own eyes a journal that was written by, or was published by Kurt Cobain, that said Jesus at the top of it. Now, in his final letter, he didn't say that, but I'd have to read it again to see if there's any clues in there, because he did say goodbye to his fans and to everything like that. But it wasn't like, you know, there wasn't a fish sign. I have to go back and see if he left anything subtle. There was a subtle thing that he did, though. He stabbed the letter into a mound of soil, because it was left in a greenhouse. It's kind of where you would put plants. So he took the letter, and I think it was a red pen or something, and he stabbed the letter. So the action of that kind of says something, as if a nail was going through a palm. Palms are written, it's like a palm. David wrote palms, or Psalms. Psalms is the way they say it, but it's also sometimes pronounced palm. And he stabbed it through the paper into the soil. So the action of doing that was different than your average suicide note. It wasn't left folded neatly and blah, blah, blah. It was stabbed into the soil of the ground. Almost kind of like murder, almost kind of thing. I don't know if that action itself represents maybe the crucifixion or the stigmata. Regardless, what he did, you know, and his band members agree, it was the wrong thing. He wasn't a perfect person, for sure. But I think somewhere in each one of his songs, if you listen to him, and I've listened to him quite a bit, somewhere in there is a hidden message about Jesus. And he did talk about it. He addressed it. This means he believed it. I mean, I have to say, it's hard to say if Smells Like Teen Spirit is kind of a Christian song, really. Somewhere in there, there's probably a hidden message. I don't know. I always believe that about real popular stuff, famous stuff, because Jesus was famous. The things around him that's connected are famous. But it's talking about phoniness in a way. It's a rolling house. You know, there's a 21 tower, the 11 tower right there. But it's talking about that there was a sense of phoniness about what he was doing in a way, and that it's addressing in a way that it was kind of wrong, but they're there for that shallow purpose. It wasn't addressing. I don't think he was glamorizing that particular song. He does mention Jesus. It is mentioned. He had angels on stage. Of course, they were art renderings of angels, but could have been something there. It's something starting to think about. I'm not saying all churches should play Nirvana, but what I'm saying is that churches are too aggressive to say that you're a witch and you're going to go to hell. There's too much of that. And so that's why their doors swing open and shut in a very tight manner. And there always is doors and locks and law and enforcement, right? And churches. Because they can't be anything but the Pharisees and Sadducees, which is what Jesus spoke against. His church was free, and everyone was in Christ, not in law. So that's just how Jesus wanted it to be. There's a train ready to go right there. Union Pacific, Uncle Pete. Good old Uncle Pete. It's a long one too, right there, going all the way through here. Hebrews 13:5. He never fails. I never seen anything like this my entire driving experience of nearly, 30 years nearly. Only on Sunday. Doing this for a while. Kid, this was a place on Camp Bowie called Jackalope. They still left the Jackalope at the top, but now they've changed it to fast signs. It's actually hiring right now, but that was a place you could pick up knickknacks and weird things. It's still there, but it's Jackalope. And if you look down here, you can see the top part of Ridglea right here. Ridgely's still there, but it was cool. It was a cool little store. It's a hip little store. They also had record stores around here too. They turned it into something called fast signs. It has a pretty long history. I'm gonna go online and see if I can get some accurate information about the actual theater, if it spans back to the 50s or even the 40s. I want to say maybe possibly this area like span back to the 30s. It's a church now. It's operating as a church, but they do leave venues here. And one thing I like about it is this marquee right here, and also that you can rent the theater room and lounge too, which is cool. I want to say this was something that was connected, but you can see the signs up this way, and it has like a tower thing up here. You don't see that type of detail on a lot of marquees. It's pretty amazing. There's the Ridglea right here. It says "We love Jesus" right here. And if you turn here, when I saw My Own Private Idaho with Gus Van Sant, I had come down here and I had a, I don't know if I had my Porsche at the time. I might have had my Porsche. Maybe my Laser. It's probably the Laser, the Chrysler Laser that my sister gave up on, and I used. It was a red one, stick shift. Then we parked like right here, and we were excited. We got out, and I was with my date at the time. Her nickname was JQ, and I was pretending like there was this massive wind, and I took my coat off, being all like River Phoenix, and I blocked the imaginary wind that was in front of her with my coat, and she laughed, and it worked. So I put the coat back on. I was like, "Watch out, there's a big wind coming in." And she laughed. Everyone acted like River, you know, if you were on a date. We walked right down this way, and Gus Van Sant, My Own Private Idaho, was playing. It was right there on that marquee, right there, when it came out in the early 90s. And I also saw Bad Lieutenant, Harvey Keitel. I mean, Harvey Keitel wasn't here, but, and Brother's Keeper here, and Naked Lunch. It's my drama teacher, if you can believe that, and one of this playwright friend that I have. It all went down right there. It's pretty cool. See the corner over there, you can see the top part of the tower of where the theater was originally, or I mean where the theater is. And it depends on when you're watching this, but many tears will flow if they stop that venue from ever showing a movie or at any time. I think they use digital projection now, which is really cool, which you can do in any rundown or broken theater. This is interesting. There's usually people congregated over here. I don't know what it is though. But anyway, Bill's Records had, I guess you could say, a second venue. Bill's Records was a famous record store that was way out in Dallas. And they opened a twin store over here. And you could get like the Smiths albums, alternative stuff. If you wanted Megadeth or Depeche Mode or Metallica to, I don't know, 9 Inch Nails to you name it. Probably they were still around when Nirvana was here too. Yeah, they were Nirvana and Red Hot Chili Peppers, whatever you wanted to buy. Slayer, Megadeth, Christian rock, whatever it was. It was right where these apartments were, right back here, if I'm not mistaken. There's another strip of mall area that was right around here. Now, if I'm mistaken, I wish they would put like little markers or something. If I'm not mistaken, I think they tore all that down. It was all right here. It went from where it says Raya Yoga right across through here. It looked the same kind of building that this was, and it's gone now. So, but it was a really, really awesome record store, and that was back here. So you see a movie over there, and you could go over and get some music over there, and then maybe swing by Jackalope, pick up some beads if you wanted to. Go home and make some beads. We made beads, and we put them on our wrist or around our neck. River was kind of a symbol of, I guess you could even maybe say, rebellion in a weird way, even though he's kind of hippie. I remember in My Own Private Idaho when River would look almost like he was looking through a viewfinder. You know, he was matching up like a shot or something, you know, like looking through a viewfinder at the world. It's a kind of a contradiction in terms.